Hi everyone, thank you for listening today. And just before the podcast begins, we wanted to let you know that if you are looking for an idea for your next team away day or off-site session, we have an idea for you. We have interviewed more than 200 of the world's great sports coaches. They are men and women who have won multiple Olympic medals and championships on the national or world stage. And we create bespoke presentations and tailored workshops for you using video and audio from these interviews to address the challenges that your organisation or team is facing. We like to think that our material is authentic, inspiring and challenging. If you'd like to know more, our contact details are in the show notes. Welcome to the Great Coaches Podcast.
To me, being perfect is not about that scoreboard out there.
This is a chance of a lifetime.
When you can understand the person, you can then work towards a common goal.
We are all on the same team.
Know your role and do it to the best of your ability.
Focus on the fundamentals. We've gone over time and time again.
Your defense has got to be better.
Leave no doubt tonight.
Great moments are born from great opportunity.
Hello and welcome to the Great Coaches Podcast. My name is Paul Barnett, and here on the podcast, we believe that there is no algorithm for leadership. And so we interview great sports coaches from around the world to try and find one or two ideas to help all of us be better leaders. Why sports coaches? Well, because we believe that they are the type of people that make a lifelong impact on people's lives. Our great coach on this episode is Anders Tortensson. However, this is not just a story about Anders. It's also about the triumph of his team Mjallby in winning the Swedish top-tier football competition in 2025. Mjallby is a town of 14,000 people with a budget that is only 12% that of the richest club in the league, Malmo. Their stadium holds only 6,000 people, and many of the players live in flats together and carpool into training. In 2017, they were in the fourth flight of Swedish football. And now, after their victory in 2025, they have qualified to take part in the European Champions League qualifiers. They are led by Anders, a former school principal and military officer, who's been involved with the club on and off since being a player there in the 1980s. In 2023, he became the head coach on a full-time professional basis and has led them to a championship that many in the press believe is one of the greatest underdog stories in European football. And now, please enjoy our interview with Anders Tortensson.
Leadership insights from the best. Welcome to the Great Coaches Podcast.
Good morning, Anders Tortensson. Welcome to the Great Coaches Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and good evening.
Lovely to have you here, Anders. And of course, interviewing with me tonight is my good friend, Dr. David Turner. David, hello.
Hello. Nice to be on with Anders. Really looking forward to this conversation.
I know you are. You were the one who's been sharing articles about Anders for some time now. Anders, we'll jump right in, and maybe if we could just ask you something really simple to kick us off. Where are you in the world, and what have you been doing so far today?
I'm at home right now. As I said, it's in the evening in Sweden, and today I actually just came back from a small lecture about the journey 2025 with Mjallby. Oh, yeah, it's a lot of that now.
We are so looking forward to hearing your story. It's a great David and Goliath story. It's got many ups and downs, and it's a fascinating case study for all of us who are competing against bigger competitors. But as we go on your journey, could I start by just asking you about the time that you became the head coach? I know you had 2 times at it, but you had 7 years as an assistant before you took the team role, and you've got a background in education and the military. But I'm interested to know what surprised you most when you became a head coach for the first time.
To be honest, what surprised me the most during that time was really how bad prepared the club was to growing into being an Allsvenskan team. We were always talking about it, but there were really no muscles or economy to really achieve that goal and to grow in a proper way as a club. So it was a struggle. This is 2013 and we were in Allsvenskan and we were since 2010, but we really struggled getting things together, very small organization, and it was a tough year, a lot of work, and eventually the year after we got relegated. And looking back, I think that was a really good lesson for the club.
So, Anders, I was going to ask you about your broader life experiences and how they inform how you led as a head coach in this context. I know you were a player at Mjallby. I know you were a coach at Mjallby and elsewhere for 20 years in total. You had a decade in the military, and I think you had about 2 decades as a principal in a sports college. So how did those broader experiences inform how you approach being a head coach in the Mjallby context?
I think every job I got, and it's been a little bit different. I've been working full time with just football for a couple of years. I combined my coaching work with being a headmaster and so on. But the main answer is, I think it's about people skills. I've been in situations that maybe a football coach doesn't get in, both in the military and in the school, dealing with mental health problems and so on. So I think maybe I have some more tools in my toolbox handling people and handling different situations. It's about experience, maybe. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I think in the Paul Newman film that was the follow-up to The Hustler, he said, "I'm not a pool player. I'm a student of human moves."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of reading people. Just one thing before I hand over to Paul again. I found a really lovely quote of yours, and I'd just like to visit it. You said something like, "I don't motivate anyone. I create the conditions in which people motivate themselves." I found that really fascinating. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I actually, when I was in the military, I attended military schools, and one of the subjects was leadership. So I think I've got a foundation there and already learned about inner and outer motivation. And that's what kind of that quote is coming from, because I can never motivate you. I can give you money, but that's motivation. You have to find your own inner motivation. I totally agree with what I said.
And as you were in the club, you came back to the club in 2021. 2023, they make the cup final. So things are moving quickly. And then, of course, 2025 is the success when you win the championship. As you look back, what were some of the early decisions you made that influenced the development of the team?
I actually don't think that it's about my decisions. It's more about the club's decisions. So, as I mentioned before, Mjallby was relegated from Allsvenskan 2014, relegated from Superettan, the second division, the year after, and one game away. They had a decisive game to stay in the third division the year after. And I think the club learned a lot. We got a new chairman 2015 who really got a great structure in the club. And since then, the club has been taking small and wise steps and improving every year. So it's a lot of people that made a lot of good decisions along the way. So I think it's more about some great people working in the club together. And that's what I like, because I'm all about teamwork. So I honestly can't just find a decision that I came up with, but it's all about, we're a small club, everyone working together, but it's the greatness about Mjallby. A lot of very skilled people working very hard during the years.
I'm definitely going to come back to that teamwork aspect about that later, but just to divert a little bit for a minute, the following quote from you indicates you're a process coach who values attention to detail. So you said, there are about 500 things that we've worked on every day with extraordinary care, and we haven't compromised on anything. So if I can ask you a two-part question, can you zoom in and give us 2 or 3 examples of the 500 things? And can you zoom out and tell us the general thinking and the why behind that approach?
I think I can zoom in a little bit. Our approach to training is don't waste time. Train what we need to achieve, train with opponents every time we can do, but also the smaller things. During 2023, we started thinking in Sweden, every team starting the sessions with a rondo, because the players are fond of it and I think it's a really fun exercise. It used to take 10 or 15 minutes, and we have 190 trainings during a year. And you can do the math. 190 what's the English word? Multiply that with 10 or 15 minutes, you get hours of wasted time. So with total players, you can continue doing the rondo, but do it before the training. Another thing that we also saw was every time we had a water break, the players walking slowly outside the pitch, starting talking about girlfriends, movies, and so on. Almost every time we had to remind them, hey, we're starting the next exercise. Then they were walking back. So we're starting putting the water on a kind of a wheelbarrow or something, that putting the water into them. So while they were drinking, we instructed the next exercise. And I think since that happens between every exercise, it's also about 10 or 15 minutes every training. I don't know if this makes any difference, but if we're meeting an opponent, the next game who plays white, opponents in the training always have the white bips on them. And if we're meeting a red team, they have red bips on them. So we're really looking at the small things and to try to improve even the small things, not just the style of playing or the tactics and so on. But you had 2 questions.
No, it's fine. I was going to remind you, because it's not fair of me asking you 2 questions. They're really nice examples.
Yeah.
My second part of my question was, what's the general thinking and the why behind that approach overall?
The general thinking, the first part that I said is about being efficient. We want to have maximum intensity in every training, reduce the breaks, reduce the pauses to be really effective. Of course, when you're in a game, you don't take 5-minute breaks during the game. And we always want to create situations where we are as close to the game as possible. So we never do passing exercises. We never do pattern training. We always train with an opponent. It could be a small-sided game, mid-sized game, or big-sized game, but we always try to recreate situations from a game.
Yeah, that's lovely. So it's efficiency and it's specificity. So specific.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, and it's a lot of attention to detail, as I say. One of the things I wanted to point out that I found out was that the intensity of your training is so high that you're having to periodize it for new players that come in because they're getting
Actually, we found that out now, because even since we had a great intensity in training coming into this year and this season, we even wanted to improve it, and we actually found out halfway through that we had improved it with 20%. So our 100% became 120%. So we set a new benchmark. So we took down the 120%. This is the new 100%. And what we actually recognized in the end of the season is that 7 out of 8 new players got injured. So the lesson learned is that we have to guys them into the training, because they're not used to that intensity or even not the load.
Yeah, thank you. So basically your approach is 1,000 lessons learned. You're turning over every stone for what?
Yeah, we really do.
Excellent, thank you.
And as earlier you talked about leadership off the pitch with the chairman, Magnus Emus. His name comes up a lot in the story of Mjallby. Just reading about him, he seems to have played a vital role in building this connection and cohesion across the organisation. Now, for a lot of coaches out there, and a lot of business leaders too, they'll complain about their chairman gets in the way, that prevents that kind of connection. What did Magnus do so well that helped you build this cohesion and connection?
He's a CEO from a company working full time there, and I've seen a lot of chairmen coming in just to showing off with a club jacket, but he's the other way around. He treats Mjallby even more serious maybe than he treats his companies. He's very skilled, and he's from the Japanese philosophy Kaizen, which means standing, trying to find, but always improve. That's not but improvement all the time. So that's the methodology he put in to the club, and it's not just us in the team. It's about the economics, it's about the business part, it's about the janitors and everything. So we set our goals and we follow them up every month. So it's a really structured and efficient way to see where we are every month. How do we perform? And if we don't reach our goals, we have to do something about it.
Bear with me, Anders, and if I need to repeat any of this, it's because I've got too long a question. But in the short term, Mjallby absolutely dominated the league and were ruthless in securing the championship. Just to reiterate, you've got the record point scoring for the Allsvenskan League, and the league's over 100 years old. In the longer term journey, there was a great deal of adversity. There were numerous relegations. You nearly dropped, as you said, to the 4th tier of Swedish football 9 years ago. Constantly having to sell your best players. Your sporting director having to work for no wages for 3 years because the finances were all wrong. And he had 2 diagnoses of serious injuries. And then your own diagnosis of a form of leukemia last year. So bear with me a second. I'm an English teacher as well. Shakespeare wrote, "Sweet are the uses of adversity." So I wonder, to what extent did adversity encountered on that journey positively shape Mjallby and the people who work within it?
The short answer, that shit makes people tougher. I really mean it, because I think people going through life with no problems, they are not going to develop, they are not going to be stronger. And what I can do is, for sure, to talk about myself and my own diagnosis. I got diagnosed with leukemia, chronic one, 1.5 years ago. And I really felt that I had a choice. I can lay on the couch feeling sorry for me, or I can buckle up and do the best of it. And it was just within 24 hours, the second option. So I got a diagnosis on a Friday, and the Monday after I was back with the team at the arena. I know I found strength in that, and I'm a lot about, as you said, I'm a process coach, and I'm also thinking about processes, even my own, and a lot from that journey about myself, and not just focusing on problems, focusing on solutions. So don't take out problems in advance, and there's no one that can stress you. It's just you that can stress yourself. They can put pressure on me, but no one can stress me. There's a saying that I like. It's, so what, now what? So things happen, you can't do anything about it, but you can act on them. Is that right?
Yeah.
English term. Yeah.
I've got an example, but a couple of things I wrote to myself before coming on. Difficult experiences can lead to growth and learning.
Exactly.
And positive outcomes can arise from challenging situations. And to give a specific example related to you and your diagnosis of a form of leukemia, you said, I don't take anything for granted and I don't put things off until tomorrow. And it sounds
Exactly.
like you've turned that negative into as positive as you can.
Yeah.
Okay, next part of my question is a bit broader, I guess. It's, what have you learned most, do you think, from the journey yourself and this incredible achievement?
We've been the trusted experts since 1960 because nobody knows tires better than we do. And with over 90 tire brands, we have an abundance of options in stock for your vehicle. Buy and drive today at discounttire.com. Let's get you taken care of.
I'm always been a reflecting guy. I worked with people all of my life, which also means I've been working with leadership, and I've been writing things down during the past 10 years, maybe. It's small things that I believe in, partly in leadership, and I cherish them as my core values. I followed those guidelines, and we did it. I didn't have to change myself. I had to believe in myself. I had to continue follow my core values and my guidelines. I think to sum things up, my diagnosis even made me more reflecting on who I am. And I think for every leader, if you don't know who you are or what you stand for, you have to start over. That's the rule number one. If you can't lead yourself, if you don't know your strengths, if you don't know your weaknesses, you have to start over again and learning them. For me, it's the main thing about leadership.
Very interesting. I listened to a podcast with Carl Marius-Saxon, your assistant coach or previous assistant coach, and he said something very similar. His advice to coaches is to be yourself.
Yeah.
Which matches exactly what you said. Last part of my question, to zoom in again, one of your players, Tom Pedersen, if I'm getting that name right, said that mental shift at the club over the last 3 years. He said there was a mental perspective that we deliberately worked on. Can you give us an idea about what that shift was and how you worked on it?
Yeah, for Tom, it was a mental shift, but I don't really agree 100%, and I want to tell you why. Because the club has always set their safety goals, and for many years, the first safety goal, we have to play in Allsvenskan the coming year, but those are safety goals. And then I think it's very important to discuss and really process the team's own goals to make them real for them and to make them, once again, as an inner motivation. We had a great guy in the group, Carlos Moro Canatia, 2021, when I was a caretaker manager, and he could really make the other players believe in anything. We are such a strong group, and we can win goal. And I think Tom is the same kind of player. He's become a great leader in the locker room as well. But I think what I don't agree on is that he interpreted the club's safety goals for the goal steadying, but he's the other way around. The goal every season for him is to win every game, and since we're playing 30 games, he always wanted to have 90 points. But saying that, I think we had a great goal-setting discussion this year and really set higher goals than the previous season. And that, combined with some great leaders in the group, including Tom, also made the group and the team really believe them and take them on.
And as I read in an article that it was a small part of the article, it said measuring things was important at Mjallby. And I didn't really see it referenced in any other articles, but I wanted to just ask you about it and how important was the use of data in helping
Very important.
improve?
Yeah. Because we almost never address the data or the KPIs in the play with the players. Of course, they can hear we have a high XG or a high XD or something like that. But when we set our own goals about developing our play, we use our own KPIs. For this season, we have 10 KPIs that we are following up every month. So we're back to the Kaizen. The analysis from the last season told us that we had a great deal of possession, the highest one in the club's history, but too much of it on our own half in the build-up. So we set a lot of KPIs to increase the volume, the number of possessions, reaching into the opponent's half, reaching into the last third, reaching into the penalty box, and so on. So that's the numbers we follow up every month. And we have a lot of diagrams and statistics about that. But as I said, we don't bother to take that with the players, because then we focus analyzing the games, what we did good, what we can do better, and so on. So we don't pour a lot of numbers over players and tell them we have to have higher XG next game, because that doesn't mean anything. It's up to us to figure out how can we improve the next game. Then we practice on that out in the field.
And it sounds great that you had these stats to monitor the team and the players, but I'm wondering, was there anything you used to judge your own performance and that of your assistant staff?
Yeah, we actually, I think there's a lot of people listening to this that are used to Mjallby and Allsvenskan, they're a big club anyway, but we're not. I have 10 people totally in my staff, and that's everyone working around the team. So I know there's clubs in England that have 50 or 75. We have one scout, 3 physios, 1 goalkeeper trainer, 2 assistants, me, a players manager, and a kit manager. That's it. So we're sitting in the same room, we're discussing everything. So we actually evaluate 2 times a year, we actually have a survey. So it's a survey within the staff, and it's very much about how we function as a team. On a scale 1 to 10, how much do you like working within this group? Do you feel safe sharing your opinions in this group? Do you think we are a well-working team? Do you think we are structured and effective? And so on. And we actually have a larger but almost the same survey with the players 2 times a year. How do you think train on the right things? Are we comfortable with our set pieces? Do you think the coach's behavior on pitch is good? Do you think analysis is spot on? Do you think our scouting is spot on? And so on. And I also have a meeting every month with the players' council. It's 4 or 5 players that are chosen by the group to represent them. And those meetings, it's just bring it on. It's what has been working, what has not been working. I told them from the beginning, if you don't address it here, don't address it anywhere. Don't go to the chairman or don't go to the sports director. I want to hear from you, because we're talking here with each other. We trust each other. So if we have a problem, just put it out on the table. Do you have that expression in English? Yeah. Thank you. And they have been very honest and respectful. And I can also ask them about the team. How are the new players coming into the group? Do we have any problem? How about that player? He seems a little bit down, and so on. And I have a sit down with them every month. So I think the answer to the question, to sum it up, is that we have 2 surveys each year, and I have a sit down with the players' council every month.
Oh, terrific answer. It sounds exhausting, but also it sounds very thorough. And I could imagine that the data you would get from that would really shape your own behaviour as a leader. So thank you for sharing that.
Anders, Carl Marius Axum was your assistant coach this season gone, and I believe he's now been appointed as the next head coach to take over from him. He describes you, one of your greatest qualities is that you're an excellent example of how to coach the entire team. That is both the players and the staff team behind the team. And I think I've heard you suggest yourself that how you manage the staff team may be even more important than how you manage the players in terms of the culture.
Yeah.
How and why do you choose to go about managing and interacting with the specialist input of other people in the coaching process?
And I think it's all about lesson learned, because during my year as coach, I've been assistant coach for some years, and I actually loved it in some way, but some years I had a coach who didn't involve me in the decisions, didn't involve me in the tactics, didn't involve me fully in the training and the methods came around training. And you can find your motivation for like maybe half a year, but then you started, why should I give a shit? So you don't feel really involved. That's a lesson learned, that I have to get them involved. They are specialists, and they are certainly good at a lot of things. So it's not about me, it's about the teamwork. And here comes another saying that I wrote down: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I really believe that. And I know my staff is very satisfied with our teamwork, and I have no problem delegating things, and that makes them grow a lot. And about the question you had early on, I reflecting how am I managing my school as a headmaster or principal? I don't run around micromanaging the students. I'm leading the staff. I'm leading the teacher. If they like it, they are comfortable, if they are feeling good, if they are feeling my support, they are a good teacher, and good teacher creates good students. And I recognize that. So I also recognized my first task, as you said, is actually to have a staff that's comfortable in what they're doing. And if they are that, and if they getting that saying, and they part of the action, they will grow, and they will certainly like being a coach in the Mjallby staff, and they will do a great job with the players as well.
You clearly delegate and you empower the people who work with you and under you.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, we're both educators, you probably know of self-determination theory. And one of the pillars of self-determination theory is competence. And you don't allow experts to do their thing, then they can't feel the competence. And that's part of their overall growth and development.
That's actually one question in the survey.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay, good. I love it. And just one little comment about, I think the whole Mjallby story and your story, there's a guy called John Buchanan who's a cricket coach who's involved with the podcast, I think, with Paul. And he famously said that your strength can be your weakness. Your story says the opposite. Your weakness can be your strength.
Exactly.
And it's a really interesting one because you talked about clubs in England that would have 100 people in the interdisciplinary team. But actually, I've talked to coaches and they said that's unmanageable and it's better when you've got a tighter, smaller...
Exactly. Yeah. I actually got an example 2 weeks ago. We were at a conference with all the coaches in Allsvenskan and Superettan second division all together. And there was a physio showing the physio organization in another team. They were 13 people. We are 3. And a lot of them half-timers because they had to work in a clinic or something to make money on the side. And I know the coach. So when we had a pause, I just reached out to him and said, how do you manage that? And it's exactly the same thing. So I'm sitting I have the 3 physios just in front of me. We sit in the same room. We discuss before training, after the training. What do we have tomorrow? Do we have anyone in the rehab process? Do we have anyone who we should be careful with in training and so on? And it's like that.
You've said that you'd rather be remembered as a pretty okay human being rather than Sweden's best football coach. What makes for the qualities of an okay human being from your perspective, and how have you tried to embody those in the head coaching role?
Yeah, being fair, being a good guy, following the guidelines I have set up for myself, try to see everyone, try to develop everyone as a player, try to say hello to everyone in the club. Doesn't matter if you work as a janitor or you're a star player. And I've learned during my life that doesn't hurt to be nice. You get a lot of things back.
Yes.
So that I think that you can be firm, you can be hard, and you can be a nice guy at the same time. Because I have to make decisions. I have to make tough and hard decisions, but I don't have to be an asshole to make that decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know who that said it, but someone can look it up. Someone said the best part of a man's life is the little unremembered acts of kindness and of love.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can lead, but you can have that as well.
I actually have 2 stories about that. I have to tell you. This year, a photograph came. He was taking a photo for media, and he said, "Do you remember me?" "Oh, sorry, I don't. I was here 3 years ago. It was a rainy day. I was taking pictures outside, and you came up to me during the training, gave me an umbrella. I'll never forget that." And that's a beautiful thing for me. Yes. And also we had a lot of media coming to us, and we actually were advised, no, you can't take everyone on, just close your gates, close trainings, just have press conferences. But no, we're gonna continue as we have done. So we had a lot of media attending during trainings and so on, and came a guy from La Gazzetta dello Sport, and he introduced himself, and he was there for 2 days. And when his times were up, he said, "Mr. Tortensson, I've been covering European football for 4 years. I've been interviewing Messi, Ronaldo. I've been visiting all the largest clubs in Europe." That's nice. I never felt so welcome in a club anywhere as I did in NBIF. And that's huge for me, I can tell you.
Absolutely. Can I give you an example, I think, of what you said about when it pays back? It's almost like karma, right? So exactly. Your goalkeeper...
Positive karma.
Positive karma, exactly. If you read Buddhist philosophy, they say you can make your own karma to some extent. So your goalkeeper, as I understand it, was already transferred to Como in Italy, a team on the rise, but he decided he wanted to stay with Mjallby to go through this campaign to try and help him win the league. And that is where you get the payback, I think. It's a lovely story.
Beautiful. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Okay. Moving forwards, Mjallby now has some new and very different challenges. Player retention and the squad size, European competition, travel, operational costs, loss of your home advantage for the European Games, greater expectations, trying to capitalize on race status. So using the SKS framework, which is a kind of framework for feedback, what should Mjallby stop doing? What should they keep doing? And what should they start doing going forward? So that's what should they stop doing? What should they keep doing? And what should they start doing?
I don't think we should stop doing anything. We, for sure, should keep doing all the little things that we do today. And what we should start doing is to recognize that we are for sure the underdog again. We have some great challenges ahead of us, and taking advice from clubs who has been in this situation before.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anders, I know you've got some grandkids as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
You must have started young. If they come to you, and I don't know whether they have, but if they come and ask for leadership advice, if they're anything like my kids, they won't. But if you do get that question, would you tell them?
Actually, I would start with be a nice guy or be a nice girl. That's the main thing. And for me, it took a long time to recognize that that's a really important thing in life. And everyone knows how to be nice or not, but that's one main thing. The other thing, it's about being calm. I set a great value in try to be calm in every situation. I can always be calm, but I learned we had stress exercises in the military, and I know if you're stressed, you don't make the right decisions. So I actually trained being calm. Being calm, don't let anyone provoke you. Just focus on the things that are important right now. And here comes another saying that I learned a lot of years ago. The first one raising their voice loses. And that's another guideline I have. So be good, be calm. And nowadays, the oldest one is 12 years old. But another important thing for leaders, I think, outside football as well, is to really recognize what is your assignment. What do they pay you for? In my case, they pay me to win games with Mjallby. And that's really important to know, because then I have to base every decision I make along the way thinking of that. Where if I take a left turn, do we win more games? If I take a right turn, do we win more games? And I have to choose, they pay me to choose the right decision. So if we win more games, in my opinion, if I take the right turn, we take the right turn. It could possibly not be the easy decision. It could be the hard decision, but it's a right decision.
Introducing the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business. It's the largest, fastest fiber-powered network for small business, gig speeds with equipment and security included, and a 5-year price lock. No one does business like Comcast Business.
Switch today. Get started for $60 a month for 12 months when you add an advanced solution to a qualifying internet package. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. New customers only. Requires 300 megabits per second internet, security edge, and additional qualifying service. 1-year agreement, paperless billing, and auto pay with bank account required. Taxes and fees extra.
Or sometimes the unusual decision. Something I wrote about you was that what you do is make a positive difference. And you do that by doing things differently quite often. So when you appointed Carl Axel, I think that was his first senior coaching job.
Exactly.
And he was a PhD student, basically more than known as a senior coach. But you still went with that. And one of the reasons I think you went with that is the perfect foil to you. You seem to me to be more of a defensive coach. He added layers to the attacking game and flexibility. So the decisions you're making there are very complex, but they're out of the box as well. And you've had to be creative with your decision making because of the constraints you've had.
Yeah, and it's also based on the analysis we had to improve in our build-up. We have to improve in our attacking play. And as you said, one of our assistant coaches was the new challenges. We had to take one in, and we could actually design what we're looking for. And we were looking for a guy who were very skilled in build-up and attacking play. And for sure, we found the right guy.
Yeah, excellent. Last question from me. You might have answered this already, but it's a nice way for us to start to summarize things. You said recently, I'm comfortable with who I am and my leadership right now. So who are you, and how does that relate to your leadership?
That's a tough one. I got that one a month ago, and I wasn't very pleased with my answer, but let me try. I'm all about teamwork. I'm prestigeless. I'm calm. I'm processing things. I'm a very good process leader. I have no prestige delegating things. I like to think that I make people around me grow. And as I mentioned before, I'm really trying to be the calm one, thinking about the right decision, analyzing things, because I think stressful leaders create a stressful organization. And I also think it's the other way around. If I'm very calm as a coach, I create a kind of calmness within the organization and the team. I'm not the one who likes shouting at people. For me, it's about management by making people understand things. So if shit happens on a training, I prefer to take that up the day after instead of standing out on the field screaming at them, because that creates, if I standing there screaming at them, they won't do it next time because they don't want to be screamed at. If I wait for a situation to calm down, they will probably don't do it the next time because it's the right thing to do, and they've learned that. I think something that's really important is what we did before getting into the season 2024. Of course, we were sitting in the coaching staff talking about what is Mjallby, what is a Mjallby player, and it was at that time it was something, hey, they're hardworking, never give up, tough to meet, really good in defense, counterattacks, and strong, tough players. But we kind of recognize that, yeah, that's what you think, and that's what you say. And we found out that we, or the club, hasn't really ever discussed the true core values. So we sat the team down, divided them into groups, and said, okay, how should a Mjallby player be on the pitch and off the pitch? And they just wrote things down, sent them to me, and I started sort them out. Then we had another sitting to improve that. We had another sitting again, and eventually we had our core values on paper. And I told them before we started, we could add things to these guys. We from the staff could add things that we think you have missed. We didn't need to add one thing. And I really think those core values has really set the tone in the group and how they act both in trainings and in game and as they are interacting with fans and other people. So for me, I always get the question, what did you do this year making you take the championship? It's a lot of things, but as I told you and as you read, it's about 500 things, but I think that's one of the main 10 things we did. And the last thing about that is a very important thing is to keep that alive. It's on the ball in a locker room, and even more important for us as a leader to really address when you're not following the core values. So we actually got rid of players not following the core values. We have been putting them out of the squad in the starting 11, not following the core values. And that was 2024. I don't think we had one problem with that 2025. And that also includes taking the right guys in and take references on the play and not just looking, oh, he's a great striker, he scored a lot of goals. We want to know, we want to take reference, how is it? Yeah, of course he can score, but how is he as a guy? Because we don't want to take on the assholes.
And going back to what we said right at the start, the fact that you've worked in education, in the military and in coaching, are all those things where you're able to read people and read what their personalities are like and what they might do to the group. Yeah, over to Paul.
I think that's a perfect place for us to finish. I can't think of a better way to close things out. Anders, it's been wonderful getting to know you and the Mjallby story. It is world class. It's an amazing...
Thank you. It means a lot. Thank you for having me.
No, this interview's been terrific. There are so many learnings in there. I loved one of the things you said a minute ago about being prestige-less, and I think that's a wonderful trait for all of us to think about, reflect on. So thank you, Anders. We wish you all the best for whatever you do next, and we look forward to following on and seeing what happens to Mjallby in the European game.
Thanks a lot, guys. Means a lot.
And
very interesting pod.
I'm going to attempt this now.
Tack så mycket. Tack så mycket.
Tack så mycket.
It went really good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anders.
Great talking to you guys.
Hi, everyone. You have been listening to the great coach, Anders Tortensson. We hope you enjoyed it and found a couple of ideas that you can bring back to your own team for discussion. When I listened back, some of the key highlights for me were his focus on being calm, which he learned in the military because, in his words, if you stress, you don't make the right decisions. And this extends to not screaming on the pitch and taking a day sometimes before giving feedback. How his diagnosis with leukemia did not stop him from doing his job. Instead, he focused on the process to look for solutions for problems that were in front of him. He summed up his approach by saying, quote, "It's just you that can stress yourself. They can put pressure on me, but no one can stress me," end quote. And how his background in the military and as a school principal helped him develop his leadership skills, and in particular, the way to work with people's inner and outer motivation. When I finished reviewing the interview with Anders, I was left with two key questions to reflect on. The first was, what can I do better to work with people's inner and outer motivation? And how can I use my voice better to convey a sense of calm? I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as we did, and if those questions I challenged myself with are helpful to you, I'll put them in the show notes. And just before we go, if you have any feedback, then please let us know. Just like high-performing teams, who, after our interview with Guy Malloy, said, "This was a great episode. Some gold nuggets in there." 2 points I love the most from Coach Malloy. 1, his awareness that culture underpins the technical and tactical elements of the team. And 2, an environment of high anxiety is not a sweet spot for any high-performance team. Thanks, high-performing teams. We love the interaction with people around the world who listen. And so if you have any feedback or comments, please let us know. In fact, if we could ask anything of you, it would be to forward this episode onto one person in your network who's interested in developing their own leadership skills. But if you do have any feedback, please let us know. All the details on how to connect with us are in the show notes or on our website, thegreatcoachespodcast.com.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search Xero for your free trial. Conditions apply.